YouTube. I got a little bit of an update on this amplifier. Now you know the other day I did the power test on here, and we got sort of 34 watts, wasn't it, at 8 ohms, and I should get the calculator out and just show you that in 6 ohms and 4 ohms, but I'll put it up on the screen as I'm saying it. But when I went to do the power test on this, I found we had a bit of an issue. Now, the way it was set up with the other LED in there, because I've changed the LED, as you can see there's a bigger LED, well, it's a bigger package LED. I was only getting, it was just over 8 clean bolts out of it. I wish I could get this thing in a bit, I can get it in a bit closer. So let's have a look. That's on 250 volt range, so that's still at 70 volts. Okay, right, so it might look like it's just on slightly over. Is it? 60? No, it's on slightly under, according to this meter. I can't go, oh look, see that little jump it does, that does me head in when it does that. I don't like that. So that's at sort of 70 volts, bang on, according to that meter, yeah? So we give it another little, just a quickie like that. Well, I just noticed something interesting, because I actually connected that back up while it was still powered on. So I got to see what happened there. Okay, this is interesting, because I'll tell you for why. Let me just make sure we got some cooling here. Oh no, they're cold. Okay, that cooling's working well then. Can't really hear it. What was in, oh, I'll show you. That's what's interesting. Okay, that's that sort of funny noise again in the clipping. Maybe that's what was happening. Maybe that's what that was all about. But there's only one difference between these two channels, and I don't know if anybody can remember. I can. These green LEDs are not for show. They're not for show. They're specific, and they have to be the green LEDs, and they have to have a voltage drop of around about 1.8 volts. Let me just double check that. In actual fact, my mind is telling me that I've done that wrong. Let me just double check that. It's like 2 volts or 1.8, but one of them's bang on and the other one's not. And so with that like that, I wasn't quite sure what to do about it, because you know, I've seen clipping before. It clips at the top, clips at the bottom. I mean, that's a bit of a you know, setting up the bias. So I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I thought to myself, well, I went over the entire board and I was trying to find differences in voltages, you know, using this one as reference, because I know this is like pretty good. It's plays nice. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it still sounds bloody nice, and I haven't actually heard anything audio wise. And I noticed that as I turned the voltage up to 70 volts, this would get worse on this one. Not on this one, but on this one it would get worse. So with it backed off to around about 55 volts, between 55 volts and sort of like 58 volts, I know that sounds a bit close, but this is what it's like. It's pretty much gone, but as I start upping the input into it, on this one we got 2.5 volts going in, peak to peak. This one I can only max it at 1.9 volts peak to peak before we have this problem. I mean, I've got it now set so at 8 ohms. I think we're on around about, I think it was 12.7 or 12.9 volts RMS for this, because I changed this LED, and this is what this is what it is basically. What I'm gonna try and tell you is these LEDs are so important. I mean, at the minute, even though there's still a little bit of discrepancy, if I have this set up the same, doing it on stereo, and I'll drop the clip in, you can see that even though I've got these both now, they're 1.89s, both of them across the LEDs. Now they're supposed to be between 1.9 and 2, and that's pretty important to have those like that. But I tried putting in different LEDs, and I tried seeing if I put the other LED that I had in first, the real bright one at 2.6 volts going across it, would that make any difference to this issue? And it didn't. It didn't really make any difference, nothing noticeable for me to go, ah, okay, so we're definitely onto that. But putting this LED in and just having that little bit of extra voltage across it has made an improvement. But where that other bit of problems coming from, I don't know. I don't know if it's something to do with the resistors, because at one stage I clipped the resistors. I think you can see down there. I'll just give it a bit more light that way, so it doesn't look pretty, does it? But that's just because it's like a prototype board, remember. I'm just using it because I got nothing else to, well, I got nothing else that I want to listen to. I got the LM1875 stereo board still set up, but because that's on this perf board as well, so that's like a permanent fitting like that. But honestly, I prefer this. I definitely do prefer this. Because there's a lot more to it, it looks prettier. In my eyes, it looks prettier. Okay, some people might just like a chip and, you know, just a couple of components, but I like this. So, interesting. And the only difference that's on here is the physical size, sorry, of that capacitor. Do you know? I wonder. It's not. No, they're cold. I was going to say. Oh, it's been on. I've been listening to it because I've been doing some tidying up and getting this room a bit more shipshape. I've been letting it get into a bit of a mess while I've been doing things, and I need to get it shipshape again so I can get my mind back into building some stuff. But thinking about it, I think that capacitor may only be a 25 volter, and I think the other one's a 35 volts. Excuse me. I'll probably cut that bit out. I know one or two at least wear headphones. So, but I will do a check on that. But I know all the connections are fine. I know everything else is exactly the same. I've checked, you know, across all the resistors. I've checked all the collectors, made sure everything is exactly the same. You know, everything is pretty much bang on exactly the same between these two boards. So I'm at a little bit of a loss really. But maybe, you know, someone can shed a light on what it is I'm actually seeing now. Remember as well, as I turn the voltage up to 70 volts. But I've done hours, okay, the entire day yesterday, and I was filming most of it, but there's just too much video. You're not going to want to watch it all. I don't want to watch it all. But it's just to, you know, if you do think about building this, because this is probably, you know, one of the better ones I've seen. The circuits, you know, for us to be able to build on our benches. Personally, within the videos that I've watched, I know you guys out there have been doing this for a long time, some of you, and you've kind of seen better, built better, and everything else like that. But for me, personally, this is, you know, this is the Top Gun one for me. But it is so important to get these LEDs right, because between sort of having 8 volts RMS to you know 12.5, 12.9 volts RMS, it was just the LED. Just the LED. There you go. Remember, this one goes to 16.5. And what I was trying to do when I first set out to do this was I got them both connected on, and I got them both to do the power test on both and see how much I could get out of both of them before the transformer was going to start failing me. I was going to start dropping voltage, and that's what I set out to do. But I ended up running into this issue, and then spending the day trying to fathom out what was going on there. And I haven't finished. This to me now is my baby. I want it perfect. I want it at least as good as this. So I've not finished. I just know that there's going to be, you know, quite a lot of video to it, and I don't want to. I want to be able to put it up, but I don't want to bore everybody too much and take up too much of people's time. Okay, cheers for watching.